Hi everybody, welcome to TIA Now. I'm Clarence Reynolds. The Open Network Automation Platform is on a journey to maturity, seeking to fortify its resiliency, scalability, and security. And here to discuss the path forward is Helen Chin, who leads the ONAP integration project, and Jason Hunt, Executive Software Architect at IBM. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Jason, I want to start with you. Where do you see innovation in network transformation happening, and how is open source playing a role in that innovation?
I think what's really exciting about what's happening in the network is the move to software, right? I mean, the networking community has been very good at taking traditional hardware appliances and putting those in and hardening those. But now that the move to software is happening, it presents opportunities, but a set of challenges as well, right? So how do you provide things like resiliency and all of that in a software environment when you're used to doing that in hardware? And that's where I think open source can help, both what we're doing in the ONAP project, for example, but even in projects outside of it. So the traditional sort of cloud projects can really, I think, teach some lessons on how to achieve those kind of characteristics, while the networking folks can also bring the degree of rigor that they're used to in driving resiliency and all that into their applications.
Yesterday, a report was released that said that the CSPs were really concerned about the maturity of the open source project. How has ONAP addressed those concerns?
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody could agree or disagree with that perception, but the fact is the perception's out there that that perhaps open source isn't quite as mature. So we've tried to head that off in the ONAP project specifically. So we took on in this current release that we call the Beijing release, we've took on a set of platform maturity requirements. So we've looked at 7 characteristics of what we think operators would expect to put ONAP into production, and we put a plan in place for each of those project teams to say, okay, here's how I'm going to improve on things like my scalability or my resiliency or the security of that environment. So we've sort of laid that out, put this continuous improvement plan in place, differentiated between the various projects, and most importantly, given the project teams a base platform set of capabilities, actually based on Kubernetes, so that they can achieve those requirements and make those operators comfortable that, yeah, I can put open source into my production environment.
Yeah, and also actually I want to add for that one, we are actually a little bit surprised to achieve ONAP maturity for the platform maturity is get the consensus over the community on vendors, service providers, and so the community is kind of take whatever the TSA give that kind of requirement and committed to achieve that step by step. For example, like for security requirement, which has the highest requirement. So we trying to achieve that for Beijing release, which will be released at May. And for others, we put the benchmark and we trying to get there step by step.
And Helen, there are a lot of moving parts in the network management system.
Right.
How do you test those systems to make sure that they will work in a carrier's environment?
Right, so that one kind of a couple of categories. Sometimes when we talk about maturity, the industry in general will talk about functional and non-functional. So for the functional part, we have a couple of use cases. For example, virtual firewall, load balancing, VoLTE, VCP. Those use cases really come from a real use case from service provider. So those kind of use cases will be used by them as well. So for the mature testing, the integration team, as a PTL of integration team, we actually will test those kind of use cases in that kind of real environment to test it. For example, we do service design, service instantiation, and also closed loop automation, like those kind of things. Those are all like the service providers use case. So we'll assume what we tested will be very similar as what they were going to use it.
Yeah. Well, and what's really great about what Helen's team is doing is they are taking some of those best practices from the software cloud world, so things like Chaos Monkey, which is used to randomly take down components to test the resiliency, and combining that with the experience that the operators have in operating these environments. So I think it's a great job that her team's done there.
And that sort of brings us to a question about preparedness. Are the networks of today prepared for the onslaught of devices that are coming onto the network, and how will we get ready for that kind of, I mean, the trillion device days when we end up with that?
Yeah, so typically, you know, when you hear things about like edge cloud and the great scalability that's needed, people tend to focus on the network functions themselves or the applications themselves and how much those can scale. But from the ONAP perspective and from these other projects, the systems that manage those functions also have to scale, right? So now you have to be able to say, well, can I put, you know, a Kubernetes environment with an ONAP in 1,000 locations? What does it take to do that? What, you know, how well does that management environment scale? And so that's again why, you know, I'm excited about some of the capabilities in Kubernetes, where we can take those lessons that have been learned in hyperscale computing and apply those to the network so that it can start to handle that load of devices.
I actually want to go one step back. If you look at today's network, like right now, people do more and more online shopping, to do more and more online things. Like a Black Friday at the USA, right? It's a lot of online activity. The network works. Even at China, they have the 11/11, and they have millions, trillions online tradings in 1 hour, 10 minutes, and the network handled that. So we are kind of okay, but is that an ideal state? No, of course. We have way to go. That's why Jason talked about all those kind of new innovations, new technologies we're going to put inside the networking, including those kind of artificial intelligence, machine learning, all those things to create those kind of automatically operation, closed loop. Whenever anything wrong, we could automatically detect that, auto-scaling in, scale out, provide that kind of cool stuff. And it's coming. I'm very, very optimistic on that one.
And how about automation? I mean, when it comes to integration of the Akrino, Edge Stack, ONAP, Acumos to form the basis of edge computing, how is that all working together?
Automation is a goal. We'll not get there yet. So that's why the whole industry working together. For example, ONAP. ONAP was the goal for ONAP is to create the networking automation. So based on policy driven, based on all those kind of closed loop automation. And Acumos definitely, like earlier I already mentioned, it provides artificial intelligence, machine learning, which we hope, because it's just announced. We still have a long way to go there, right? But it provides the kind of like a brain, human brain, like the think, to say what's going on, could dynamically adjust based on those kind of fast changing networking, fast new use case, just like the IoT, that kind of things before we don't say. So Acumos will definitely put that kind of intelligence into the ONAP to create the more intelligence closed loop. And how to say that? Acrinos. We said we have problem to pronounce that one. It's so new. And they are going to launch at June. That one also will provide the promising for the edge, because like we need a fast response to what's going on over there. The edge deployment will definitely provide get closer to the end consumer of that, and on top of all other technologies like Kubernetes, like OpenStack, provide that kind of hope. Zero-touch automations over there. We're getting there. Not yet.
And I think we're just starting to scratch the surface on what can be done with machine learning and artificial intelligence in the network. I mean, so whether it's, you know, understanding characteristics in the network, being able to predict failures of those functions, or even when errors happen, how do you, you know, in the call center address those things automatically and handle that, you know, or optimization. You know, optimization is sort of a class of this same problem. So how, you know, if you've got trillions of devices and all of that, where do you put the code so that it's closest to the user, but it's also most cost efficient? I mean, there's great opportunities ahead, and I think a lot of the projects you mentioned are the ones that are going to help get us there.
Right.
And what role do you see LFN communities playing in the AI-related network evolution?
Yeah, so a lot of those projects you mentioned earlier fall within the Elephant umbrella. And so it's great that we've got kind of a common governance structure around those projects, because I think that'll encourage collaboration amongst those. But I'm also excited about the other projects that'll come in. So what was shown at ONS here was, for example, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is also underneath the Linux Foundation. Took some of the ONAP code and they deployed that on Kubernetes environments across various public clouds and bare metal clouds, and show that we can leverage a multi-cloud environment in here as well. So a lot of opportunity really for these projects to continue to work together, and I think all the piece parts are there and we'll just continue to improve.
Yeah. And actually the community, the LFN is also relatively new. Right now, on the project level, they still run them independently, but we are looking for a few projects which could find those kind of synergies. And for example, CI/CD, those kind of environment, the testing environment, and we already started working with that kind of 2 days before. Last Saturday and Sunday, we had a workshop over there. We'll see how we could leverage, for example, OpenFV. Some of their CI/CD platform and tools could be used for other platforms like ONAP, Open Daylight, FIDOS, like other projects could be used there. And we're working together, LFN definitely could help that.
Well, Helen and Jason, thank you for being with us, sharing your insights.
Thank you for having us here.
And thank you for joining us. Of course, you can see more videos on our website at tianow.org and on our YouTube channel. So thanks for watching.